Let's call this meeting to order. Roll, please.
Myers.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Redland.
Here.
Thompson.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have anybody signed up for public comment over there? No, then let's move on to Mr. Craig Lovelace with an update from the hospital. Yeah.
Thanks for having me tonight. Not a real long report, so we'll just start with the financials. Well, one of the things we did discuss at this last board meeting is a report that we had just received from the state of Kansas, talking about all of the hospitals across the whole state, and their concerns about the number of hospitals that are struggling, and so happy to report we're not there, but that doesn't mean we rest on our laurels. We got to keep going.
Yeah.
So for the month of July, we have total revenues, patient revenues of $3.1 million. Year to date, we're looking at about $23.2 million. And then we have other adjustments that are there to give our total income before expenses of just over $2 million. I think we've talked about those revenue deductions before, that's the contractual adjustments with the insurance companies, whatever. So we charge X and they take away Y and we get Z. Mm-hmm. So then we had salary expenses for the month of $681,000. So our increases have taken effect. So this is the first month that we have actually been salary expense greater than budget. Year to date, we're right on. We're actually 0.47% under budget. So we planned on this increase that was going to hit in July, and it did. I think you might remember we talked about it before. We did both a merit increase and a cost of living increase
Mm-hmm.
for our employees. So that 6% total hit in July. We then, so within with our benefits, so our total costs of employee-related expenses is $942,000, so roughly just under $1 million. And contract labor, $123,000. When you put that in, it takes us over $1 million. Somebody wants to reach me, and they don't need to right now. So, brings us total operating expenses of $1.7 million. Then some other depreciation, management fees, etc. To a total expenses of $1.8 million and a total operating income of $204,000. That data that I referred to before, say that's what they're looking at, is that operating income. Basically, do we have sufficient patient revenue to cover our costs of operations? So for the month, $204,000. Year to date, $551,000 through 7 months. So doing fairly well there. Then we have some other non-operating revenue, our 340B, donations, grant revenue, tax dollars, etc. For a total non-operating income of $131,000 and non-operating expenses of $31,000 for a net of $100,000. For total income for the month, $304,000. Year to date, about $1.3 million. So, hospital is performing right in line with budget, and we're doing okay there.
Good.
Days cash on hand, we are now at 299 days, which is climbing fairly consistently. It's just a slow climb, but it's there. I think we talked before. The average is around 120 to be in pretty good production, so we've got some cash. And one of the concerns that we have, obviously, is when you get too much cash, then people say, "Why are you hoarding?" You got to reinvest that. But we've shared with you before some upcoming expenses that we are very aware of, so
Mm-hmm.
We're just prepared to weather that storm for right now. That's really about it on the finances. Thank you for the joint meeting. That was good. Thanks for your help, and keeping us all on track of what we're supposed to be doing.
It was very spirited, it was good. It was a good meeting.
So I only made one faux pas. I used the wrong government agency to fund any future projects, so we'd like to thank the Food and Drug Administration, who doesn't do funding. So we've joked about that at the hospital. It says, man, you don't even know what you're talking about. So anyway, I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of you might have.
Questions for Craig? I don't think we have any. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to consent agenda. We have A, the 9/5/23 commission meeting minutes, and B, the appropriation ordinances 2023-18, 2023-18A, and 2023-P18. Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns on those this time?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda, items A and B.
A motion by Commissioner Redlin,
Second.
a second by Commissioner Myers. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Redmond,
Yes.
Showalter, Myers,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to presentations and proclamations, and we have a presentation by the SCCD board. I think we have a couple different things, starting with Jaleesa. Are you going to start us off?
Hello.
Good evening.
So, how are you guys?
Good.
Good. So, I just was coming to, my board's here, they're going to give a different update than I am. So, I'm just here to update about Flatlanders. That is taking place next Friday and Saturday, the 29th and 30th of September, so the last weekend. We are all set to go. I met with Jason earlier this week and we went kind of over a whole game plan of just layout and all of that, so we're good to go there. Our numbers for vendors are up. We have around 55 vendors, so that's a big number for us.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
great.
last year we had between 18 and 20, so
Oh.
that's a lot. It's a big group, so trying to get it to where it all fits. I know I was at the department head meeting too, I guess at the beginning of the month, and just checked in with the department, seeing if there's anything from updates that they needed or what we could do to make things a little smoother, and just to make sure that if they needed anything from me to let me know. So I think we're good to go, and we're excited to see what this year brings. So any questions?
Awesome. No, I mean, it sounds like it's shaping up to be a great festival. Sadly, I am going to be gone for a portion of it. I do appreciate you reaching out to me though,
Yeah,
about
definitely.
it. But,
Yep. So
yeah.
perfect. So I'll pass it off
Alright.
to my board for them to give their report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please do, please do. Hi, I'm Bill Bierman. I'm a member of the board. Jennifer House is our president this year, just recently sworn in, so
Good evening.
I appreciate the opportunity. I think this came about on the quarterly update or whatever. Hey, it'd be good to have some board members give an update to the commissions too. And so somehow I got roped into it, and that's how I stand here before you tonight. So I passed out a strategic kind of plan that we've been working on. I'll use that as a little bit of a guide. You can reference that, and I'll just kind of give a narrative a little bit as well. Again, thanks for the opportunity. Our other board members, if you don't know, are Ben Shears, Rochelle Stanley, Steve West, Jackie Livengood, and Amy Cedarstrom, 7 members. 3 from the, I think, originally formed by applications that were sent to the city and the county, 3 of which the city selected, 3 of which the county selected, and then there was 1 at large to kind of comprise our 7-member board. Formed 3 years ago, January 12th of 21. So this is kind of year 3 for us. Certainly been an adventurous 3 years as far as getting up and going. I know as board members, we're like many community members. We kind of like want to get going, and yet there's a lot of things that you just kind of got to slow down and get set up before you can start jumping through things a little bit. So, but it's exciting because now we're in year 3 and feel like we're rolling a little bit. We hired an outstanding executive director in Jaleesa, who's just done a tremendous job for us. In April of 21, 3 months after we kind of were formed, we hired her. That certainly helped. And yet, as a new board, you post an application, you interview, you do all these things, and then obviously, well, what's the job description? Well, what did we give you for a job? I don't know what we gave her, but I know it's a lot different today because it's ever been evolving over the last 2.5 years, and that's just kind of where we're at too. So But we did in that first year around July, kind of build our first strategic plan, I guess, kind of, okay, we've been at this for 6 months now, where are we going, what are we doing? So we kind of set 1, 3, and 5-year goals, some of which you see on that sheet I gave you. We kind of tried to progress monitor those a little bit for you as far as, are those completed, in progress, where are we at on those? And then just recently, if we forward ahead of here to this last March, kind of April of this last spring, we reevaluated that 3 years in. Where are we at now? What have we accomplished? Kind of that reflects that as well. And where do we want to go moving forward? Kent did a great job as kind of our facilitator in several meetings. Whenever you get 7 people together to start brainstorming ideas, sometimes that's hard to kind of get all of those ideas into some common themes. So we appreciate Kent kind of helping facilitate that. And so now we have these kind of 4 broad areas like on your sheet. The first one being organization and infrastructure initiatives. It's kind of so on our one right now we're working on is actually hiring an economic director. Like we said, Jaleesa's done a great job for us in her role, but that's so comprehensive and so widespread in the role of community development. Kind of now focusing a little bit more energy just on the economic piece of that, and probably feeling like if the budget can allow that from a board perspective, having someone just dedicated to that. So that's kind of where we're at. In progress on that a little bit. We do man the Welcome Center. We get some part-time help through the Next Gen, kind of cash. I think that's through K-State. Is that right? That's through, or some grant where we get some summertime internship help with that. So that always helps us in the busy travel season out there. If you don't know, the structure of our board is 3-year terms. So we've kind of set that up to be revolving 3-year terms where there's 2 of us, like this year, that are going off. Steve West and Rochelle Stanley have decided not to come back, and so their spots are open. We have posted out there that we're taking applications for the board. Those are due by the end of September, on the 30th, open to the public. Whoever's interested in being a board member on the Community Development Board can certainly apply for that. And we certainly appreciate and value all that Steve and Rochelle did for us. So our second category there is kind of economic development again. Incentives and programs initiative. We kind of have formed now a formal incentive committee together. That's important as we start to work with businesses, current and new ones. Maybe what are some of those opportunities now? And if you see on the checklist, look, that's completed. We're in the progress of kind of building what those incentive policies would look like. A big thing that we've worked on is housing. I think everybody knows that. We're trying to help facilitate the best we can. We've been working with the city and others on building a land bank. A first step for that was getting the housing assessment done. Kind of have to have that done in order to apply for other things to come, so we feel really good about that. I serve on the housing committee, so I can speak directly. I know Brooke does too. So I know we felt like we had a really good submission on the first MIH grant that we put in for. $900,000. We didn't get that. Went to the east side of the state. Imagine that. Applied again. Felt like we tweaked some things. Thought we had another good one. Got a little bit further west, but not quite to us. So now we've applied again. We feel really good about our application, and we're hoping to get that to kind of help us with the land bank and begin the process of this housing part that we have. We also collaborated and worked really hard with the city of Goodland on a $1.3 million grant for the industrial park. So we're proud of that as well. And Jaleesa did a ton of work on that. So our third one is business enrichment. Part of that was kind of rebranding the chamber a little bit. We do a lot of monthly emails, social media presence. Some of the early workshops we did for current business owners helped with having a social media presence a little bit. We have a new one coming out, cybersecurity, something that none of us like to talk about, but certainly something that we all need to know about, especially if we're business owners. So helping some of our small businesses with the understanding of what do I need to do, what do I need to have in place in regards to cybersecurity. So just kind of doing some things like that. Different workshops probably get different attendance, but try to provide those for our business folks. Jaleesa has been active, as well with Jessica, in nominating people from our community for the STAR Award. which is kind of a statewide recognition of businesses. We've had 3 of those make that with Goodland Tech, 21st Century Bean, and Duell's Grow Ag, is that? Department of Ag, one that we worked with a little bit there too. So, and then our 4th one's kind of community engagement tourism. That's kind of how we titled it. You can see some things on your checklist specifically there, but certainly from a board member's perspective, I think this is Jaleesa's strength. She does an outstanding job with our community and organizing of those events. Flatlanders, Shindig, I think all of those have been hugely successful. The bands, the picnics in the park, all those things that have been brought in to improve the quality of life for people in Sherman County. So those are just things that I kind of wanted to talk about from a board perspective. We have a great board that's really committed to volunteering their time to just make Sherman County better. I'm trying to do the best we can with that, and we have great people in Jaleesa and Jessica Bonner works in our office as well, and feeling really good about where we've come in 3 years. Really excited about some things happening right now that, if you know the world of economic development, can't really necessarily share. I know everybody wants to do them, but things are starting to happen. I think the housing's part, hopefully, starting to happen, so we can have some things brewing, and hopefully we can make progress here now moving forward. Jennifer, you got anything to add? I talk fast, so I apologize for that. But certainly, any questions, or Jaleesa, anything you want to add to that? Any questions or anything?
No, sir. No, I just want to point out, I think it's sometimes easy to forget that you guys have only been aboard for 3 years now. And you started from literally nothing. Like, we picked you guys together and create this thing is basically what we did. And, and it wasn't, there was a lot of mixed feelings from a lot of different people when that all started. And I feel like I'm really proud of what you guys have accomplished. I feel like you're doing the things, and Jaleesa hadn't, doing all the things she's doing, are doing the things that I hope to see that you guys would do when we did this. So I want to thank you guys for all your hard work, and just to think that it's only been 3 years, and there's still things you're trying to do, and not everything's perfect at this point, but nobody should expect it to be. I mean, but you guys have accomplished a ton in a short amount of time. So thank you guys.
Thank you. One comment I'd make, I guess, just as a general statement, probably would be, since we are kind of help our board, and what we do is fund it through the city and the county, certainly the improved relationship between those 2 entities has strengthened our ability, I think, to do what we're doing too. So I value and appreciate you for that too. So thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, we have no ordinances or resolutions. We do have a formal action with a CMB license for Fabulous Burgers and Cones. Kent?
Well, the owner is here tonight
Yeah.
as well. Tibet Vasquez Jr. is here, who owns Fabulous Burgers and Cones in the 900 block of Main Street. And he's applied for a cereal malt beverage license for consumption on the premise. And all the checks have been completed by staff, and the staff is recommending approval. I don't know, Junior, if you wanted to come up and say a few words regarding the application, or?
I feel like you're fairly well established now. I think most people are aware of your business, but I don't know if you just wanted to take an opportunity to promote yourself a bit and what you got going on.
We've been coming up on a year and opening business. We're still getting a lot of new people coming in, stuff people we've never seen. Kind of thrilling a little bit, have fun. And it's been to see how they're running, just kind of expanding as we go. See what things can, see if we get more people in.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions, concerns?
No question, no concern.
And I will make a motion to approve the CMB license for Fabulous Burgers and Cones.
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Redmond,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Showalter, Thompson.
Yes. right, thank you.
Guys, there you go.
All right, moving on to discussion items. We have a follow-up regarding the proposal for the facilitated discussion on housing needs and options. Okay.
There was a question last time regarding the proposal about whether there was any grants available to assist with that. And there really isn't an opportunity with the Department of Commerce, but as was mentioned during the SECD presentation, as far as having that housing assessment completed and this being a follow-up to it, makes it much more likely to be funded. And there could be a grant possibility with Dane G. Hansen with it. So, and because that's one of their key areas or focus areas for Northwest Kansas. So this fits one of those things, and we're hoping that this can facilitate some additional discussion, and especially on any options that the city needs to take regarding any of its codes, regarding different types of housing options. And they have a good discussion regarding that and see if there's any actions that the city needs to take. So, but that was the one question, main question that the commission had at the last meeting. So, I'll provide a follow-up.
Anybody else have any other questions regarding that? So what time frame, I guess, are we looking at in order to approve this before they would want to come in and make amendments to it? As far as pricing, or do we know?
I don't have an exact timeline, but I would say within 60 to 90 days would be fine as far as approving it.
I was trying to go back and look to see what the total amount was. I'm trying to dig
It was
through.
around $13,000 to $14,000.
Yeah.
14.
I would also think it's a important part of what we're trying to accomplish. I think this can shed a lot of light and help us move forward in so many different ways regarding how we want to address housing.
I think it's we need more opinion. You know, the avenues that we've looked at, we're trying to pursue. We just haven't made any progress. But maybe they know of things that have worked in other cities, like in our situation, that they might be able to propose. You know, though I don't like, you know, spending more money. You also have to. It takes a dollar to make a dollar type of a thing. But in this sense, we're not making anything. We're just providing an avenue for homes to be built.
Well, I feel
No.
like we need stepping stones, and this seems like just another stepping stone.
I think yeah, it's just it's another option for us to consider for sure. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, it is. So it is. Yeah, cost not to exceed 13,000 is what they have
Yeah.
on there.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, 13,000 is a good chunk of money. But in the scheme of the grander picture of what we're trying to accomplish, it's a drop in the bucket of what we could see
Mm-hmm.
as far as growth in the community with what this can help us. So, I mean, I would go out and make a motion to approve in the amount not to exceed $13,000 the proposal from Community Matters Institute.
Yeah.
I have a second by Commissioner Myers. Any other further discussion?
It's just a stepping stone that we need to take probably to go ahead and so we can get where we want to get to.
I concur.
Roll, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Redland,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Showalter, Thompson.
Yes. All right. Well, let's move on to reports. It's going to be a nice short meeting tonight, maybe. Kent?
I was warned by staff to keep my comments very short.
Based off of this, you take up half the page.
Right.
Well, included in your packet is manager memo, as well as the month-end budget report for August, and an activity report for the police department, as far as the last month's activity. Also wanted to, last week, went ahead and made an appointment for the interim police chief for Jason Earhart, who is here this evening as well.
Yep.
But,
Good choice. Congratulations.
there's no additional schedule at this point, but did feel it was necessary to go ahead and appoint as interim police chief. So we're taking at that point. So also received a notification from Journeys and Destinations that they're hosting another event in Goodland on November 7th. They're hoping to engage even more students in Northwest Kansas region this time. Apparently, and I didn't check with Mary, I was trying to check with her at the beginning. They said that there was a little bit of sponsoring the event. What it is that for healthcare careers, they have an event that a bunch of students attend to, so they can, and they charge them $10 per student to attend in Journeys and Destinations. I don't think we did anything last year. I didn't confirm that with Mary, so previously, but did want to announce that they are holding an event in Goodland. They have it in several locations around the state, and Goodland happens to be a repeat visitor this year, or
Good.
from last year. It's a repeat visitor this year that it's occurring. As far as the next item on the list, sidewalks on private property, we'll be sending you, the street superintendent sent me, or gave me an additional item, forwarded to email as far as sidewalks in Kansas, who was responsible. We've had quite a bit of discussion over the last couple of weeks regarding sidewalks on property and the removal of sidewalks. Quite a long time ago, there was a time when it was really insisted if you're going to remove a sidewalk that was in need of repair, that you had to replace it. And then we ended up with a situation where we weren't doing that. So for the last several years, we have not required people to replace sidewalks. And obviously, certain sidewalks are getting to the point where they need to be repaired or removed.
Attended to, yeah.
Cause a problem. And we've had quite a bit of discussion. I don't have an absolute regarding it, but it did point out that for the community at some point we need to really go forward with, and we've talked about it as well in certain work sessions or discussions at our strategic planning regarding a pedestrian plan or sidewalks that are along key routes in the community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's certain, especially along the emergency routes, you don't want a lot of people walking or have a way to walk that's not in the street, you know. When we do our 8th Street project, which will be upcoming next year, as part of that, and I don't think Andrew's here tonight, but part of the design of that project is going to make sure that we have, you know, at least sidewalks on one side of that street along 8th, basically from the west edge of town to Caldwell area. But the removing of the sidewalk is, in certain areas, has caused some consternation, because then what are the pedestrians? It causes an issue.
Yeah.
Never mind the issue that in a lot of places we like to play Tetris or Jenga or something As far as some of the sidewalks abutting the curb and some is 20 feet in. And it gets to be difficult. Ken pointed out very correctly as far as in the code, and make sure that the sidewalk needs to meet up wherever your neighbors. So if you are going to put a sidewalk, it does need to at least have a path to get to the neighbor's sidewalk as well. But it has become an issue that's in discussion, but it's also a point where our current sidewalk code does not establish absolutely to say that it needs to be replaced. So that's where the issues kind of come about and come forward in a couple different areas. I just want to inform you that it's just provide some information at this point.
It's an ongoing discussion.
Mhm.
It's ongoing, and if staff comes, and there are a couple areas of that, Ken's pointed it out, that probably need to be addressed so that it is clear in the code regarding it. But both Zach and Kent and myself and Jake have been involved in discussions regarding the sidewalks, and it does get important to an awful lot of folks to be able to move around the city. And not all movement is by car. So it becomes an issue.
Yeah, I know I, for one, truly believe that sidewalks make your neighborhood better, so.
But that was the main thing regarding that. Also sent you some information regarding, Dustin and I had a good conversation with KMEA regarding the solar proposal that was presented at last meeting. It was not, they pointed out several things with the proposal, so that the proposal was not as rosy as what was presented, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't still a decent proposal. We're continuing to investigate. Dustin is following up with another community, Beloit and some others that have installed similar sized projects, and investigating with their operators how that works with the rest of their system and what problems and challenges have been developed because of it, but also what are the benefits for it. And Dustin is investigating that, as well as some additional information from KMEA. So we appreciate the assistance of KMEA to have a third party review the application and provide some, and there was a number of points to be made regarding the proposal, but it is still a decent proposal. Now we have to do some additional due diligence before moving forward. The one thing that because we had a little bit of urgency to present it to you, was because of the PACE application deadline at the end of September. That has turned out to be a little bit of a misnomer, because the PACE application really only provided $1 billion of funding nationwide. And you think $1 billion is a lot of money. It's a lot of money to us, but in this type of thing, it's really not that much money. So KMEA says that that's really not a valid route as far as the funding for this particular project.
Mm-hmm.
There are other routes to funding this particular project that could be pursued. But as far as the PACE application deadline, that really is not a urgency for our community or for this proposal at this time. So we're still pursuing some additional information regarding that proposal, and we'll provide additional follow-up when we have that. I'll ask Dustin Bedore if he had any additional information to that he wanted to provide. I didn't warn him ahead of time, but
So I did have a meeting with KMEA last Thursday and Friday on solar, along with the KMEA meeting in Kansas City. It's kind of questionable. I think I would like to have more conversation with the developer, and probably in-person conversation, to see if that could be had. The numbers look good. It's just, how do we get to those numbers?
Mm-hmm.
So, there are a lot of other numbers that need to be added in there to get true cost. So that's what we're wanting to know, is what the true cost is, and what numbers are not on that project that are going to be city's responsibility, like transformer, switches, stuff like that was brought up by KMEA. So that's where we are. I mean, it was a good conversation. KMEA, they thought it was, the good numbers were good if the numbers were true. So that's all I have.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Do you have any questions or comments for our city manager?
Just thank you for taking initiative and reaching out to KMEA and getting their feedback, and as I mentioned in the email, as quickly as you did. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Move on to our commissioner reports. Start over here on my right, Commissioner Myers.
I just want to thank everybody who's involved in making sure that Flatlanders goes off without a hitch. It's a great event. It's a blast on Main Street when it happens. So I just want to thank everybody that's involved, working it out.
Thank you. Commissioner Howard?
Not much really, just thank all the board members from everything that we have board members for, because they don't get enough praise of what they do for all the boards that the city has. And to have everybody have a good time at Flatlanders.
Commissioner Redland?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody that attended Chief Hayes' funeral. I thought it was a great celebration. It wasn't a funeral. It was a celebration of his life, and it was good. It was really good to just be a part of that, you know, and never been a part of something as, you know, it's essentially a family thing when it comes to police, but you guys have networking across multiple departments, you know, and that was something to see. So, yeah, thank you to everybody.
All right, for Mayor's report, I have nothing more to add this evening. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Redland,
Second.
second by Commissioner Howard. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.